Hello, welcome back. Sorry it took so long for me to get back to you guys. Um, I am just seeking to make a video to document some things that are going on in my life and to update you and myself and whoever else may in the future ever find this information can utilize it to, well, uh, for sympathetic reasons for yourself or intellectual and to study of other people's um, thoughts and thought processes, tendencies while communicating without another individual around, whatever. I'm an INFJ on the Myers-Briggs system for sure, or I'm almost completely certain of that fact, certain. And I'm doing this for, or as like a virtual journal. And I think that maybe it's just an interesting way for me to communicate my own ideas, self evaluate, um, document, and do so in the hopes that maybe it'll help someone else in some way. Well, so the last video, months ago, I made months and months ago, I was about to undertake a surgery to correct um, my residual limb because I'm an amputee and I had problems. Well, I had it chopped off when I was my left leg, when I was around 3 years old because I had osteosarcoma, a form of cancer. I don't want to recant too much just in case you guys have already watched the video beforehand, but if anyone has questions, just comment and then maybe I'll address them in the next video. I would like to. um, I'm also going to leave my email address in the description so that people can reach out to me if they need to or want to or would wish to give me a specific criteria to address. Because otherwise I'm just spitballing. I have no idea. But anyways, so the surgery, a reconstructive surgery of my limb, it went well as far as I can tell. Still in recovery though, so just since January 14th, I've been in recovery, not working, um, and trying to physically rehabilitate myself and get used to walking on a prosthetic leg after a traumatic event like surgery. And it was an extremely extensive surgery, taking another inch of bone, and I don't know the medical term for it, but like grafting my muscles in a totally different way to the bone. And so there's multiple layers of inflicted intended injury. So it's taken a while. I wish it would be a little quicker. I have things I wish that I could start moving towards, my goals in life. The whole reason why I got the surgery in the first place. But things take time. I get that. Um, so so yeah, I had surgery went well. It was on the 14th of January. Um, I'm recovering well. It seems like each week that goes by, I can walk like a block or two further without exhaustion or, um, I won't say overwhelming pain, but debilitating pain. So it's looking good, but it's some months in. I, I mean, still living with my brother, same living situations. He's taking on more of the brunt of the financial situation, unfortunately, which is why I'm a little stressed out about not being able to work at the moment. I work for an essential company, so so I could go back when I'm completely able, but alas, I'm not. But ching, uh, I've still been doing research quite heavily into the MBTI system, personality, cognitive traits system, basically. It's more of a cognitive function um, theory, but not a personality, really. But I mean, I guess you could say it's just easier to market it as a personality. But your personality comes from your environment as well, so and that does not account for environment and thus experiences within them changing perspectives within an individual and building their own version of morality and whatnot. But it does account for how you go about obtaining those morphisms, basically. Or, yeah, kind of. That's a good way to say it, I guess. I would suggest everyone at least become familiar with the MBTI system because it is extremely helpful when it comes to knowing your own tendencies, knowing your strengths, knowing your cognitive strengths and weaknesses, and what you should be working on when it comes to your cognitive abilities, what you should focus on, what you shouldn't ignore within yourself. And finally, it gives you a sense of belonging, which most humans enjoy. Um, but yeah, it's also a good start if you're trying to dig deeper within yourself. Not everyone's going to want to evaluate everyone else around them and stuff like that, but INFJs will find that extremely addictive and compelling. Um, the other thing, well, I'm just so ill prepared for this, but whatever. um, since it is for just mostly a personal, like, journal to be shared with others to interpret in whichever way they want, I'm not going to just stop the recording and start over and trying to make some type of semblance of a system that I'm trying to go by because I just, I'm not. And I didn't intend to when I began, but it's starting to drive me nuts. But I need to refrain from feeling like it needs to have some sort of structure because it does not. Doesn't need anything. I have started talking to a female who I believe to be an INFP. I've become infatuated and trying to um, study it within her and have found myself in a role within that relationship that we have, social relationship, in trying to help her in figuring out what she needs in her life to help through her own problems at the moment, which are deep rooted, as most people's are. Um, that's a big developmental change within my life for sure. She brings me happiness and purpose at the moment where I it's been hard for me to to come by, because without a purpose for me, stagnation and stuff becomes very depressing. Um, which I'm in a natural state of not being able to physically manifest anything, or very minuscule changes, so it's just not very satisfying to me. But to have someone to speak to help, to have care about my thoughts, it helps me. And it might help you too. Um, which is why I'm going to leave my my email address. Um, I'm going to delve deeper into MBTI. I don't have an innate understanding of it. There are I'm basically looking at the system and thinking, how should I, what is the best way for me to start an integration of it into my mind? So, like, which perspective do I want to focus on in order to work my way up to the overall understanding? And when I think about it like that, I watch a lot of videos. I basically just have it on as like background stuff, reaffirming ideas from different perspectives, as many as I can possibly get. And then, but the thing is that I lack an understanding of the cognitive stacks and their corresponding types. And I know that the emphasis of understanding of this is in the cognitive stack, not in because I will never be able to remember the type, um, and just be like, well, that's the cognitive stack that it has, until I just understand the cognitive stacks, and then I will assign that modus operandi to a type within my own head. Otherwise, but for now, I'm just like soaking up information and letting it gestate within the brain, and it's still fascinating. Um, the other thing in my life that I am infatuated with, or a couple of things, is theology and field theory. Those two things are extremely important to me. I suck up knowledge from it, those two aspects, as much as possible without overwhelming myself. Um, and those things are two very powerful motivators within my life. In meaning that, well, one's spiritual, the other one is spiritual and connected to what I call circumstantial evidence, and one is physical, in which I think that it is the next step of the human species to learn and to master, where because it will bring us technology that is not just almost unimaginable to what we understand today. Problem is, if it's in the wrong hands, which it already is, and it's being suppressed, in my personal opinion. And I've seen enough evidence to confirm that within my own psyche. Which means you got to be tricky about the way you bring it upon the world to understand. Otherwise, you're going to be snuffed out in one way or another, which anyone's imagination can kind of fill that in. Um, which I seek to do so. I also seek to get into politics eventually, because system sucks. It's not one side or the other. It's the whole thing. It's corrupt. You need to get greed out of it, and that's the trick. So I think about that a lot. I thought about that since I was 16 years old. How do I change this system? How can I? How is it possible mechanically to change the system that we live in, what must you do in order to do so? And the steps and steps and steps that you would take, and the precautions or the awareness of what may happen because of cause and effect within that parameter. It's exhausting, but it's also all I really care to think about, ever. Field theory, cognitive functions now, theology, how that ties into reality, and then how can we make this shit better?